Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I'd like to discuss the government's latest attempt to convince people there are benefits to Brexit as Rishi Sunak tries to publicise what he called a shake-up in alcohol duty, suggesting that the price of the pint down the pub would drop considerably. Only problem is, along with all the Brexit-related lies, he's actually putting the price of beer up. He also tried to make these claims at a beer festival where a lot of people there knew what he was really doing and were not necessarily shy about letting him know. So the wait continues for a Rishi Sunak publicity stunt which doesn't backfire on him. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel. So Rishi Sunak been out making a fool of himself again. Yesterday, he was trying to claim a Brexit benefit in changing the regime for alcohol duty. He claimed this was only possible because we'd left the EU. In reality, EU rules only provide a floor for sales taxes, really. The EU never decide what our alcohol duties are as individual member states. It doesn't set out the regime that individual member states use to decide those alcohol duties. That's like a matter for that national government. Sales taxes have to have minimum levels. That is it. Individual governments can come up with whatever system they like, so the idea of a change in the way the duties are set having anything to do with Brexit is laughable. And people should really know this, because all my life, when we were in the EC, when the EU formed, all the way to our post-Brexit period of time, back when I was a kid, I remember them. Whenever there was a budget being announced, the most widely reported aspect of any budget was always, what's the duties on tobacco and alcohol? At a time when a lot of working men would spend a third of their lives in a smoke-filled pub, it was the most newsworthy aspect of the budget. And because our alcohol duties were always way higher than the EU minimum, because UK governments could easily justify increasing it on health grounds, we were always able to lower them if we wanted. Quite a lot. In fact, we could have halved alcohol duty in the EU. So much higher is our beer tax than the EU rules stipulate. But the interesting thing is, we're not even lowering them. Sunak was trying to suggest that the duty was being brought right down, but if you go to the government website, which contains the details, there's a few interesting sections. There's a section which tells us the changes in duty by various category, right? By alcohol content. None of them are lower. More than half of them are going to see increases in alcohol duty. So Sunak is actually putting the alcohol duty up whilst trying to claim or suggest it's sort of coming down. He's sort of alluding to the difference in the price between pubs and supermarkets. But he's trying to give us the impression that the cost of the beer will go down. Then there's another section where they're pointing out that the Treasury will end up with less revenue from the duties. I mean, if you're going to reduce alcohol duty, of course the Treasury is going to take in less. So you think to yourself, when you look at these two sections, you think, well, hang on a minute. There's, either alcohol duties are staying the same or going up or going down, aren't they? It's got to be one of these. You've got one section in there that says, oh, the Treasury is going to take less money. It's like, okay, that's in line with the government suggesting that they're going to reduce alcohol duty. But then you've got another section that says, right, this type of alcohol, we're keeping it the same. This type, we're going to raise it. This type, we're keeping it the same. These types, we're going to raise it. It's like, well, where's the ones where you're going to reduce it? Oh, we're not going to reduce it on any of them. We're just going to either raise it or keep it the same. And the thing is, these sales taxes are like percentage changes. So inflation's neither here nor there. In fact, when inflation is high, revenues from sales taxes like this obviously shoot up. So how can the government claim that the Treasury is going to take lower tax revenues when they're putting that tax up? And then you see the fiddle, you read the careful detail. Those negative numbers are not comparing the new duty regime with the current one. They are comparing the new duty regime with what it would have been in terms of what they were originally going to use. So the figures aren't how much lower alcohol duties are going to be compared to now, because they're not going to be lower, they're going to be higher. What those negative numbers are is it's comparing how much lower the tax revenues will be compared with the previous plans to raise them even higher. So Sunak is trying to claim that his increase in alcohol duty is actually a reduction because he was actually going to raise it even higher. This is not unlike when the Tories keep telling us how much they've saved us on our energy bills when the energy bills doubled. Savings when the cost goes down, you muppets. Ah, yes, they said. But we were thinking of trebling the bill, so you've actually saved money. That's what they said. They're like gangsters who come into your home, wreck the place, then tell you to be grateful they didn't also set fire to your house. Unfortunately for Sunak, although this is just the sort of Tory con that can work on the general public, and the media won't call it out at all, of course, tends not to work on industry experts. You know, I've said Sunak's advisors are a little bit suspect before, haven't I? They had the brilliant idea of getting Sunak to launch his new initiative at a beer festival. Now, if Sunak were actually announcing something that would be good for the industry and for customers, absolutely, a beer festival, ideal place to launch it. But because this is just a Tory con, the last place you'd want to formally announce it is in front of a load of people who understand the details. So there was Sunak, surrounded by people who sell beer for a living, listening to a teetotaler present alcohol duty increases, but trying to suggest he was actually helping the industry. You know, he was going to be lowering the cost of beer. Didn't go well for him. Someone filmed themselves saying, "Prime Minister, oh, the irony that you're raising alcohol duties today as you're pulling a pint." It's not quite true, I suppose, because these duties are still technically only proposals. They wouldn't come online until next year. But certainly the idea of announcing a sham policy, which does the opposite of what you're claiming, surrounded by people, you know, experts, actual experts, that's not what I would consider to the soundest political strategy. Maybe he was emboldened by Nigel Farage's success with fishermen. I mean, I've frequently said I could absolutely see how the Brexit lies about fishing would work on the general public. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But it was a constant source of amazement, and it still is, that they ever worked on people within the industry. Like maybe Sunak thought that publicans knew as little about selling alcohol as fishermen seem to know about selling fish. But on a more serious note, this is why we need to get rid of the Tories. Like, they're not a group of politicians who try to make life better, but they've got different ideas of how to do it, ones I don't agree with. No, they're crooks. Because this is the serious point. What other mainstream political party would actually claim they are lowering alcohol duties when they're actually raising them? I mean, yes, political spin, obviously political spin is always a feature of all successful political groups. But who else would actually pull a stunt like this? Which progressive party would actually do this? It's the contempt for the general public that allows the Tories to do this. The absolute contempt they have for us. When other politicians, when they spin things in their favour, they're doing it because they believe that they're doing their best for people. But these ones, they are just crooks. They know they're not doing it any good for people. They know they're doing it for their own selfish desires. They're just crooks. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later.